Hello. Yeah, okay. DE, let's see. Hi, everybody. DE, Mario, Never and Nana, what's up? What's up, everybody? Yeah, not a great day. Uh, Although it is in preparation for moving, which is great. That's a great adventure. But this is, yeah, me breaking down the kit um, because the neighbor has put like the final say so on everything. Since the last stream, I've been forbidden from playing this uh, to risk our very living situation. So um, that's been extremely hard for me. It's the thing that I've spent most time in my life doing and becoming proficient at. It's my industry, it's what I've given my life to. And it's been regarded as a nuisance and just extraneous noise and all of that other stuff. And without like a whole lot of compromise. Um, so this is how I think a lot of creative people find themselves in the world, pushed to the corners. Pushed to the corners by individuals that like have no experience and no kind of presence of mind for other lives and other considerations, and other lives and other considerations, kind of, people that are bringing forward things that, maybe are surprising, that you haven't seen before, that are novel, live, sometimes have to, in order to gather the new and to report it, extraordinary lives. So, even just like, a little bit of bump in the neighborhood was too much for this individual. And so, even though I'd been doing this for months, successfully, and the idea was that, this person was claiming, they're working from home and I'm interrupting their work, and it's like, well, I am as well. I this is what I do. I've done it all over the world. I'm not sure if you've done the same with your work. It's legitimate work. People actually pay for it. It goes on records and stuff. So, um, so yeah. Um, so today is hanging out, uh, answering some questions, um, and just just hanging out, breaking all this stuff down, um, getting ready. This is the first step of getting ready for the move here. We're getting packing materials, and we're shopping around all the services still, getting the quotes, and so the final form is yet to appear, but it will for its chicken nuggets, and that will be that. So, and that will be a grand adventure across the other half of the country. So, um, yeah. And I guess like a double entendre here with this title, because, yeah, I'm breaking this down, and I'm also recognizing this person has been broken down. Um, yeah, not in any way fully functional and kind of, grasping at vines to pull themselves out of quicksand of negative thoughts and emotions that have been stirred up by a number of encounters in my recent past that have brought up kind of all of my demons. I don't know. It's one of those things like think association with a top 5 life stressor, if you know what that is, and then have it go kind of wrong. So something on that level. So so that on top of not having my protest wings clipped here permanently, having my drum set wings clipped here permanently, it just kind of froze me in place. And so I don't know. I didn't plan to do this. I didn't plan to throw this up in front of anybody. Um, but especially since, I opened up memberships on the hopes that there was going to be fucking drum concerts. Um, I felt that I needed to say something um, to all y'all, and that there aren't going to be for until at least a month when we get to Portland and get set up, where um, where we've been assured that things are going to be good. Got a good setup. Landlord's down. Going to negotiate with the neighbors, who it seems like it's a better situation, but you always have to navigate it, and it's never a sure thing. So, especially with something like this, that I've had trouble with neighbors everywhere my whole life like this. So, there's always one that's psycho. Yeah. Let's see. Thank you. Hey, Tilty, what up? Yeah, GM Flower, you bet. Like, coming off of, like, that court case, um, and not having my outlet is really tough. It's been my primary outlet since I was 11 years old for everything. And how I've expressed myself and how I've made my way in the world in a lot of ways. So, it is very threatening to this person to have it taken away. It is very threatening. And honestly, like, society doesn't have a whole lot of defense for people like me. So, creatives or weirdos, artists are kind of on their own for stuff like this. And generally, I find that, even the people close to me, friends and family, don't really understand what it is to be up against something like that and have something that is like your chosen thing just be like, I don't even know what that is anymore. So, yeah, it irks me quite. It's quite vexatious. So, that being said, my tears being shed. All right, y'all. What up? So, first thing, okay, like at the end of the night, right? Um, so, I used to do this as a drum tech or an audio engineer and a drummer. I've done it from like all sides of the production thing. So, first thing you want to do on a drum kit that has all of these microphones, all over it. Each drum has a microphone. That's a channel. It got ones in the air. It's like the most expensive and delicate part, right? And so you're going to be moving a whole lot of stuff around. Big, heavy things, and other people will. So, first thing you see is an engineer run up on the kit and tear the mics off of it. Or whoever it is that's sent to do it. What up, Laura? How's it going? Oh, yeah. No, presently present you with the presence of my presence. Yeah, all right. So, holy Moses. That's something to look forward to. Yeah. We'll talk about the deets there. That's exciting. So, keep all my boxes. So I knew I was going to be moving again. But generally, I don't know, if you know somebody that's kind of into this, like they'll usually have like a closet or some storage thing or some box with just like boxes of the original gearboxes. Because I mean, they designed these things to transport them all over the world. They kind of work. Some of these microphones that are really nice come with kind of hard foam. So these first ones, that's Shure SM81. Very, very nice overhead microphone. Condenser, small condenser microphone. It's got a roll-off. It's got a pad. So, or like a 10 dB minus switch. I don't know if it's technically a pad. And yeah. All right, y'all. Let's see. It's not a thread. It's a tilty. You're making threats? Yeah, the love of money, indeed. Well, D, you make a fair point. I think that's fairly universal. Well, it's the love of money, and then the necessity of it becomes very many of the evils when people all of a sudden convince themselves of the have to, of having all of these different things, and I have to do this and I have to do that. And money is the way to fill that gap. Well, then, I mean, what won't you do to get that money, right? So, you know, bend over for whatever corporation, you know, take whatever dirty dollar from whoever's handing it out, just to make the mayor go, rather than, I don't know, acting through conscience, not going for the easy route, and trying to deliver something outside of that, which is far harder. It's made far harder for everyone. You know, it's a system that we're placed in, designed to keep us there, and to starve out anybody who would dare live outside of that system. So, yeah, it's the love of money, but it's also just like the, oh my God, I have to have it. And I mean, there's the necessity of having to eat and feed your family and everything, and there's like the real of that, and then there's the appearance of that. Feed my family can go all the way to, oh, I need that summer home, and I need this to feed my family. I need this special thing. I need silver spoons. I need all sorts of things. I need it though because it's for my family, you know. And we all get encouraged to be these kind of independent nation states operating on like game theory stuff, like dispassionate, independent, and non-cooperative actors, all. So, yeah, good point, E. Oh, Pearl. Oh my God. So yeah, Pearl's been in there in the data wars. Unbelievable stuff that she's doing for these folk, and they are enamored as well. Quickly making herself the indispensable person in this department, which is no surprise whatsoever. So. Yeah, I mean, let's see, what? Sam, yeah, no, agreement is not necessary. It's actually, might be a whole lot better if we don't always. I mean, we all know how freaking boring it gets when you don't have any pushback. You don't learn anything. sounds really low. My voice is really low. I mean, you know, it's just on the phone, so it's the phone mic. I have no special anything. I have no gear set up. I'm breaking down gear. Yeah, I could have done something more special, but yeah. Sorry, Dreamscape. It's what it is. Thanks, Fluffy Llama. I'm hoping for better days too. Yeah, going back. Oh, 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 oh. Let's see. Of course, I totally understand. Maybe I'll just have to be annoying adopted British. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, we're all gonna be. I mean, for the West Coasters out there, we're gonna be in your neighborhood, at least what I consider a neighborhood. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Um, the place that we've landed is fantabulous by the amazing efforts of Pearl Snappy, who is house hunter, and kind of this level of organization you couldn't want for better. I mean, not that it's easy or anything, because it takes effort, but very consistent success. So, yeah, impressive. Although, not always sure of the success, right? And so maybe that's the secret, right? You know, it's never completely in the bag until it is, and it seems like that's the way Pearl treats it. Yeah, I think it reminds me of this. I've been playing along to this artist Lewis Cole. One of his lyrics is about why he's tight. Well, you give a fuck, and at the same time you don't give a fuck. That's why I'm tight. Finding that balance of being in the moment, but not like over focusing to the point where like you're over analyzing the moment so that you're not in it, or whatever it is that you find. That's the way I see it, but that's where I get screwed up. And I think a lot of musicians, the same thing. Like as soon as you like have the inner voice starting to talk to you, and you're not just like in the flow state, that's when you might stop. And that's like maybe not really good for a show. Yeah, how did I do those? So, oh yeah, Fluffer and Tilty all up in here. All right, what's up, Alan Parsons? Yeah, Alan Parsons is amazing. Not just the project, but yeah, like as a producer, he's produced a lot of music. I think people would be surprised how much, really. I was surprised when I found out that he was a producer on Dark Side of the Moon. That's some producing. Yeah, so, oh, right. I named the other ones, for anybody that cares. These are kind of inexpensive small condenser microphones. The P170. Yeah, for the hi-hat and the ride. I do an independent ride channel, because I can, and it's good. Another mic on the ride, you get all that stick definition. I mean, obviously it could be a better mic, but this one does fine, especially for like for what I've been doing. Obviously, if things go, keep getting pushed forward, and maybe I get a drum channel together or something, I can get some gigs in Portland as well, get better stuff. But this will serve us for the foreseeable future. So yeah, just a SM57 on the snare, industry standard. Microphone. You can put it on anything, and it'll probably sound good. It will sound kind of like a 57, but it won't sound bad. Led Zeppelin, every mic on every drum live for Led Zeppelin was an SM57. Every one, including the bass drum, which I'm like, why? Live, they would, I mean, in the studio, they'd use another mic for the kick, but it was 57s around the kit, even in the studio. So, yeah, we're gonna jam out. You know, Rika's been holding it down protest-wise out in front of the Portland org there for some time, and we'll. I'm sure some Choctology will be in order at some point. So, you know, new city, gonna try to restart all of these things, restart all the engines, restart this, the drumming lives, my daily practice, get into gigs. And the other thing is that, the other thing creatively that I do for work is work in the theater in multiple departments, technician and designer. I've worked as, but trying to find sound design work in a local theater with the aim of being like a resident SD sound designer for a repertory house for a season or something, you know, and see how that goes. But all of that would change if I got a bus tour. So, yeah. So, on a lot of drum kits live, you'll see this dude as a tom microphone. I've got 5 of them. Very nice. My 604s. I did a record to get my 604s. A friend of mine had a deal with Sennheiser, and I needed mics for my kit anyway. So that session got me these 604s, and so everybody was happy there. And after that, I was able to, it was the last piece of the puzzle for me having this full drum kit, an 18-channel digital mixer, and the ability to broadcast it, so that I could at that point print drum tracks and send them to anybody that wanted them, which I was doing. DB Crim Protest Band. Yeah. I mean, you know, we could make it, you know, like the Banana Splits or something. You know, we could all have like characters. We don't have to be ourselves in the DB Crim Band. You know, take a page from David Bowie. Put it all into a character and be that. I mean, you know, he didn't do very well with preserving himself, but you might be able to preserve yourself. Muppet versions of all of us. Yeah, Holly. Yeah, right on. Yeah, Sennheiser. You know, good company. Very good company. I like a bunch of what they do. They're all good, you know, in a way. They all make stellar stuff, and some of them make stellar and crap stuff. But you know, Shure is pretty safe as houses. And, you know, Sennheiser and AKG as well, which are like really the majors. But I mean, I would do a bunch of things for Earthworks or Sennheisers. So like Sennheisers instead of these AKGs for the hat and the ride. Neumanns for overheads. And but you know, you can train. You can dance for inspiration. Yeah. So John Bonham or Neil Peart? Well, it depends on what you want. I don't know about better, and this is, I think, people get caught up in the idea of better or best. And I'm not exactly sure how relevant that is. It's more like, you know, what's good for the music. So Neil Peart's the best drummer for Rush you could ever imagine. And same with John Bonham. For Led Zeppelin, they tried to replace the guy. His kid tried it, you know, and the guys in Led Zeppelin were like, okay, nice try, but like, you know, wait another 10 years and you can come back and try it again. And he did, and it was much better. But and then you could go into like individual technique stuff, right? And so Neil Peart's got way more like rudiment around the kit, weird stuff technique that he developed. But John Bonham, I mean, to my ear, has a much deeper groove, like a pocket. For rock and roll, extraordinary depth of groove. Extraordinary. So yeah, generally I find it's, you know, right drummer for the right job, well, then you could say, okay, so you know, faster, cleaner, particular technique, particular groove ability. So like John Bonham could swing stuff, and by which I mean, you know, there's swing music, which has a generally triplet feel. You know, so like a swing ride pattern, dang, gang, ga-dang, gang, ga-dang, and underneath that is ba 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 da ga 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 da 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 da, right? So swing is generally like a triplet feel, but then you can have like gradations of swing. So like rather than that would be straight triplet, ba da 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 da. But you can tighten up the last two notes, different things to give it a different feel. Da 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 da. So like the Odd Couple theme is more like that, right? Da 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 da. So being able to play with those different gradations of swing and hold it is being able to swing things really. And John Bonham had that way more into my ear again than Neil Peart. So yeah, but it's like, you know, put Neil Peart and Steely Dan, and that's not going to be good. Oh, Kelly U2 fan, what's up? Alex Van Halen could swing like a mother. Yeah, well, yeah. So like, well, he had that Bonham thing, right? Alex was, as far as I could tell, the next generation that took it into rock. That huge drum sound and the like raw power thing of rock that wasn't just like full on metal, like double bass drum fury kind of metal. Yeah, it was him. And yeah, like Hot for Teachers, a really fast shuffle. Right? Triplet feel, but like that thing, if it's doing that kind of thing, shuffle. Right? So yeah, real fast shuffle, which has a triplet feel. He's swinging the hell out of that thing. It's crazy. It's jaw-dropping that at the extreme height of their powers, extreme height of their powers in 1984, they hung it up. But it's less confusing if you see interviews and performances live of Diamond Dave from that era. You're like, oh shit, you need to you need to fire this guy. He's crazy. And he was, but and he continued to be pretty nuts. Although he was the original kind of business acumen of the band. Part of why they were as successful as they were. But, I mean, as a wise man once said, cocaine's a hell of a drug. So, yeah, wow. Right now, while I've been talking to you, this is not the most efficient way to break down a kid, I'll tell you. I was looking for, where did I put this last one? It was still on the drum. So, thanks, guys. You distracted me. Not too hard to do, really. Squirrel. Yes, breaking down. Well, yeah, kind of, broke down. Gonna leave this broke down palace on my hands and my knees. I will roll. All that. So, yeah. Give me a break. Now I know what it takes. I got to break it down. Oh, shit. And he's back. Okay. Back again. Guess who's back? All right. So, mic's off the top. And there's one more microphone. All right. Okay. Hello. I'll just take the whole stand. Now, I'll remove the cable. Boof. Bass drum. SM52. Sure. People say, I think the general thing on the street, this thing has a lot of low-end resonance boom. Not a lot of definition on the attack. So some engineers will put like one other microphone inside it to capture that, and oftentimes I've seen people use like a high quality boundary mic that's a condenser that can take like a fair amount of sound pressure level to get the definition, the boom and the click. Or in the 80s, what they used to describe bass drum by those two properties is, and excuse the phrase, but balls and bite. So give it some more balls, please. You might hear. A little more bite, could you? Yeah. Wow, I'm sweating. Yeah, I don't have the air running in here, I guess. Air hasn't been running. It's getting a little stuffy. So, yeah. Yeah, better, best drummers, I think, yeah, it's per application. So, like, Ringo's not the best drummer, but he killed it in the late Beatles stuff. Not the early Beatles stuff, because it might not be him, but definitely the late stuff. Yeah, y'all. I don't know. Y'all have favorite drummers? I know I've got a list, but... Thanks, AJ. life jacket. The jacket of life. Sounds pretty important. Oh, Johann Bonham? Yeah, it's my first favorite. Addicted to John Bonham between the ages of 13 and 14 and learned how to play all their stuff. Obsessed. And then I discovered Rush when I was 14, so that's funny. And then the next year after that, I found jazz fusion. So, Johann Bonham. Your grandson's named after, oh wow. Named John or Bonham? That's kind of different, I think. Okay, so, yeah, that's the mics. The mics are safe. They are secure. They're in their bags. They're in their homes. Go in your home. We don't need loose mics on this trip, I tell you. Bonham, wow. Yeah, adventurous. Well, so, I mean, people know what you're saying, too. So, yeah, a real force of nature rhythm, hammer of the gods, as they said. So, isn't that nice? Pretty as a picture. So, what's not nice is step next. Let's take a trip over to the rat's nest. There it is. Okay. All of that. That all needs to get wrapped up at some point, right? So, I don't know. I might do that last. Wrapping all those cables once all the drums are kind of stacked, I think. So, cymbals next. And for cymbals, you need a cymbal bag. He lives in Portland? Cool. David B? Okay, right on. What a tragedy that was, too, man. Like, flipped his car with his arm out the window. I mean, obviously, he could have killed somebody driving in the state that he was, and probably that they all were for years. So, cool. Right on. Lives in Portland. Was this person, as they were named, were they made into a drummer by by force of suggestion? That's my other set of hats. I've got two. One's kind of more metal. These ones are more everything. Yeah. The tours by many of those bands, well, and the 80s, I mean, shit. Same thing carried on. But, I mean, there's the myth of it, and then there's, like, the real hard knuckle reality, is that a lot of those people were being full on manipulated by music industry types who ended up taking all of their money. You know, you got all this flash and all this stuff, spend all this money, you got this hotel, this freaking, you know, this limousine, and I mean, if you're, say, like 20 something and you don't understand finance, and you have somebody else taking care of all the books for you, and they're providing all of these services, and you're not seeing the bottom line, you'll end up with less than nothing. You'll end up owing them money, and sometimes quite a lot of money. So, there are a lot of abusers, groomers, and straight up drug dealers um, who drove a lot of that culture and enslaved a bunch of artists to them by opening up this candy store for them and then being their main purveyor of all of the things that they couldn't do without afterwards. So your producer is also your dealer, is also recommending real estate, is also like, here's this car. Oh, did I buy it on the freaking company card? I don't know. Like, you'll find out later. That kind of stuff. And I mean, some of them were, kind of rich beyond the ability for people to do that, and just pissed away their money. C.C. DeVille comes to mind of Poison. He pulled, like, before MC Hammer did it, he pulled an MC Hammer. Like, he was tight on money, or he didn't know that he was, and was living pretty high on the hog, and they had the biggest record of 1989, and they were sure the next one was going to be just as big, and he bought this like $11 million home. Oh yeah, and then Nirvana happened. Yeah, so no more Poison being a hit of anything, and he lost most of everything. I mean, he put a fair amount of it into his face. With the grumpy dust, or the Peruvian marching powder, however you want to say it. But it's really sad that the so-called arts gets like wrapped up in that amount of slavery, generally. So, and I don't know if you're smart enough to like avoid that stuff, unless you can just instantly make them money anymore. They're not taking a chance on you. So new artists, say like for the past 10, 15 years, record labels weren't doing any development. They weren't developing an artist. They weren't spending any money. They weren't spending any time, right? Because they had the internet, okay? And what they could do is wait around for, Childish Gambino or some other such to get a following on YouTube of, a couple 100,000. And then they start to look at you, right? You got 1 million followers. They're like, okay, all right. We can see the money. We can see it. What do you want? And that's ever how you could do it anymore. Because, like, back in the 90s, you'd get discovered on like a low order circuit, and some producer or other would take you under their wing, and they develop you for some amount of time. They put some money into you, some tour support, maybe some gear, get you, if you don't have a decent recording that they can sell, to do that. And push you regionally, and then nationally if they can, right? And that would be a number of years. And so, like, the famous one I think of these is Jimmy Iovine taking No Doubt on in like 92 or 93. We didn't hear about them until 98, right? So they were under development, playing small circuits, opening for bands, opening for other bands in the roster, to get a following, to get recognition, and to hone the thing, to hone the craft, right? So record companies not waiting around for that anymore. They want already marketed, saleable material. In the corporate world, this is called externalizing cost. So, you have a line item in your budget. You have something that you have to take on. Now, how can you get somebody else to take it on? How could you possibly do that, right? Maybe there's another service, or you can change the context of how business is being done, or whatever else, you can get somebody else to pick it up. Rika, chipping in for that first tank of gas to get from Texas. Oh, thank you very much, Rika. That's much appreciated. That's much appreciated. Yeah. Yeah. Man, I haven't done this in so long on a phone. I have no idea. Wow. Yeah, so Rika and Laura. Pearl Snappy. Gee, for using the word nabes. Yeah, dude. Yeah, we're in the nabe. We got some nabes. Yeah, that's how it be. We got some. It's got some yoga panted fools around here, nimbing up the course. You know, can I please, just like wallpaper my reality all over everything, or I'm calling the manager. Pretty much. So, that's a bag of symbols. And this bag, that bag's 25 years old. That's been all over the world. Hurrah! Okay, maybe we could let the sunshine in. So, I put up all these panels and deadened up the room. I'd spent all this money in this time. Didn't really get to use it. That's, beyond inconvenient, I think. It's expensive and wasteful. So, let's... A whole new world, don't you dare close your eyes. At least for now, actually, now that I think of it, for security, just so I don't give people a window in here. Well, I made this system so easy that, oh wow, it can just go right back up. No fuss, no muss, no waiting. All right. So, mics and symbols down. Let's see. So, yeah. Thanks, Tilty. Having a tough time, feeling like a human being. Having a tough time with the basics, and that is, I'm expressing and displaying the classic symptoms of depression. And physical manifestations of it, and so, more exaggerated sleep disturbance and emotional disruption, and like my stomach's all over the place, and I'm generally disrupted. And yeah, once you get to like the point where you're not sleeping all that well, for you, and you're not recovering every day, and you're continually depressed, that's a very nasty cycle down. Very quick, can be. As sleep deprivation's a one-way ticket to temporary psychosis. So yeah. Oh, what? I'm missing stuff. Sorry, guys. I started to work. Yeah, Rika. Thanks, everybody. I didn't miss anything. Yeah. Not too stable. This kid. Never really was. But, I got seriously knocked off my block, y'all. And what's more difficult in this time is that I can't really talk about it. something that I would have to deal with a therapist alone. And I could just put forward that I'm going through a lot. Because I'm going through a lot. So yeah, no, I've needed every laugh that I've been able to get, every little scrap of feeling like a human being, because yeah, in these states I don't I barely feel like I exist. I feel like a ghost, like not fully embodying, so and you know, all of this stuff, it's not easy on anybody that's around you, and so that puts on its own particular pressure. It's like, yeah, you have this, right? Okay, and maybe you come by it honestly, but like, I have to be better about transmuting the things that are going on around me in such a way as that it's not as affecting. But this is, I think, for people with kind of any serious mental illness diagnosis, is a lifelong process. It's not like some of us have things in us that are profound and damaging enough that there isn't going to be fixing them. There's not, it's better now, right? That, like, the hope of that, I find, is really, can be really damaging to some people. I find that for me, I've had to come to terms with that it's not going to be fixed. It can be better dealt with. The effects of what I have in me, my damage, can be better mitigated. My reactions to things, my recovery time, like how wild out my negative self-assessment gets, can be managed. Things like that. On the margins, you can reduce the harm. Harm reduction is what you have at that point. So, but it's also why, for certain things that you might do to people or you might do to a child, carry now more serious consequences, because the science has, I think, I don't know, for all intents and purposes, proves that there are certain things that you do to a kid in their developmental, while they're developing, and at certain developmental stages, that are going to have consequences for the lifetime of the organism, for the lifetime of the human. And there's nothing else for it but then to mitigate those effects as best as possible. And in our society, we don't care. We don't have the resources. We don't allocate the resources. We don't train the people. We don't do the public outreach. We don't do it. We don't care. If we did care, things would be different. Things would be much different. The homelessness population wouldn't be what it is. The diseases of despair would not be at an all-time high. Life expectancy wouldn't be going down in the richest country in the history of the world if we cared in America. In the United States of America, we do not care. We do not. And I don't know, there's everything to prove it. And there's like a bunch of my compadres that didn't make it through because they didn't get the help that in a just and humane society they readily should have had. Easily. So yeah, we don't care. And for me, you know, I have a pretty tough depression condition, and I haven't had, like, for most of my adult life, the level of care that I need, and I don't have access to it. Like, Obamacare didn't give me that. Nothing did. Nothing's coming to do it. There's no plan. You know, it's money or die around here. Money or die. So that might sound harsh, but I think it's a lot harsher being denied care at the hospital where they're telling you flat out money or die. I don't think saying it is nearly that harsh. So, you know, I mean, one thing about, you know, people saying both sides of the political divide have some things in common. Both sides of the political divide have that in common. Money or die, dude. Nancy Pelosi, money or die, for sure. Hakeem Jeffries, friend of the frickin' pharmaceutical industry. Big friend. So, while they may be better than they are, they will maintain the status quo so that all their little buddies can make all the money that got them the power and the access that they have. And then people outside of the social sciences wonder aloud, why do we have all of this aberrant behavior? What's up with all the crime? What's up with all the shootings? What's up with all this stuff, right? Well, if you make life cruel and absurd, maybe cruel and absurd things will follow along with it, I think. Holly Lewis? Well, it's one of the reasons we're getting out of this town, I have to say. This is about to be a company town. I wrote 16 codes. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter is calling, but I can't go. I sold my soul to Elon Musk. What about these 19 to 24-year-olds who sold their soul to Elon Musk, who are out there doing the Doge? Now, there was a nasty statement by a media specialist, his employee of Boston University, who works in one of the media labs, doxed 6 of them, and put out a very nasty statement that I do not agree with, and he's getting a lot of flack for. I think if he isn't fired, he's going to be. But he named 6 of these people, and some of them are from Boston. Yeah. Now, you get a 19 to 24-year-old, a very impressionable person, you push upon them your idea of reality, some morality play, something where they can hold a banner and play a part to like fight with something for some big cause. Now, the military does this, the intelligence services do this, the you know, anybody who's trying to recruit, you know, the able-bodied, like I'm going to do it all right here workforce is trying to impress upon impressionable minds their view of reality. And so, yeah, Elon Musk is going right for, you know, the age demographic that, like, you know, the CIA will pick up, you know, maybe some patriotic, hopefully Catholic or Mormon, emotionally injured person who needs a sense of direction and leadership, who has the other skills that they need. That's like, you know, a self-starter, independent worker, language skills, some, you know, some amount of social intelligence, stuff like that. And, you know, they'll tell you, you know, God and country and all this stuff. And, you know, the most tuned up of them become like, you know, the front line running like a field office somewhere. So like some of the people that I met who are like a generation older than me who did stuff like this were like 24 years old running a field office in Central America in the 1970s. So it's exactly what they're trying to do. Elon Musk is, you know, is playing right out of that same book. It's the same book. It's not any more nefarious than the rest of them. It's maybe the ends are more nefarious, but everybody uses that technique. Jesus. Oh my God, guys, this is some real life stuff. Holly and Lone Dinosaur, wow. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sorry that anybody's put in that position, and especially y'all. That's real sacrifice. And that's terrible. But it's also honorable that, like, whatever is done for the sake of the kids, but not to the point where you're destroying yourself. Oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry. Could not imagine myself doing that because I don't believe I was ever that responsible. I guess. Like my equivalent is cats, but not even. So, kind of knew my speed. So there goes the blue. We'll wrap that up in a second. So the drums are down. It's a skeleton. That's the skeleton. So this is what a rack is. It's got 4 legs, 4 uprights, and then those 3 cross pieces, and then you get a bunch of clamps where you can put like a tom holder or a holder for a cymbal, and you can have, rather than having a whole bunch of tripod stands on the floor taking up all that space, the only thing touching the floor are the 4 uprights. So it's easier for cabling. Actually, to me, the drums are more stable, especially toms. So on stands, hit a tom, and like the whole stand will rock a little, and you can kind of start like a kind of sympathetic motion going where they'll rock. And especially if you're on like a festival stage with some festival risers have a little bit of give to them, and so stands and that little bit of give, your drums will be kind of going around like that. On a rack, nope, just it's right there, and so like the resonance there isn't like, the resonance doesn't then get dissipated through the rest of the stand. So like that motion from the stand, that energy, rather than going into the stand and have the stand go like that, it's going into the drum and staying there. So I think it sounds better. But it's I don't know, it's more metal. I don't know, it's probably the same metal. Wow, you guys are going at it. Steering clear of the news. I see. Well, to each their own, I guess. I mean, if you have a condition where, like, the stress that's created by the news is producing not so great stuff for you, well, yeah, totally. You know, everybody needs to be able to take a break. Certainly. I mean, I'm generally of the mind that we've been conditioned in a way to not be able to handle what's coming. And that's on purpose. So that we will be overwhelmed by all of these moves. The moves that are going on right now, they're meant to be overwhelming. Like if you're feeling overwhelmed, If you're feeling like it's too much, like it's all going too fast and you want it to stop, that's on purpose. And don't feel bad for feeling that way. Don't feel bad. Because I think so many of us do, and everybody has like a different way of processing it, or are at just different points in their lives where they can or can't handle more or less of it. So, yeah, don't feel bad. And also, I think that might, it's going to make it harder for you to just recover, come to terms, just be like, okay, so that's all right. I get to take a break. We all don't need to save the world all right now. Although it seems like it, because it seems out of control. And for people that can see it going out of control, of course, you want to do what you can. Things are moving very, very quickly. And so it's going to be hard to know where to land and what to do, especially if you haven't joined up with something and volunteered or put yourself full on into one of these things during one of these times when it seems out of control and people are like, holy shit. Now, 9/11, I found myself working for a construction company. I was trying to impress my partner at the time, and my father got me in an estimating department of a large general contractor. And when that happened, I kind of woke up to where I was and what I was doing, which was serving the business interests of some of the worst people I've ever met. And I started volunteering. We were going to kick off these forever wars, and they were going to destroy the environment. It was drill, baby, drill. It was the Texas oil concerns, like reignited in a way, like again in a generation, to bring us to our current level of oil production ascendancy. Like that push brought us up to the point where like the United States is back up as a top producer and exporter. But I volunteered, knocked doors for, I don't know, 2 or 3 seasons for ANWR, the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, which was the last 5% of Alaskan coastline that hadn't been opened up for oil drilling. And it was a wildlife preserve. I mean, think Alaska, how large it is. And just there's 5% in the northeast corner that's left, that was left open. And that campaign was successful. That campaign, I mean, I was a drop in the bucket amongst so many in one city and several neighborhoods. But Rosa, I don't know, we raised thousands of dollars for that, I guess. But that was successful. The Arctic National Wildlife Refuge was preserved until very recently. Trump went after it again, and Biden caved, and so it what the project going on there is on again, off again, because they were never able to I think accurately survey what's there, and thus they not able to accurately predict the profitability, and so they're like, yes, it's the best. Oh no, maybe it's not. Oh yes, oh no, and the regulators come in behind them and biff them up a little bit. So yeah, I found myself doing that, and then basically I burned out of that, and I moved, and I didn't want to do it. I was doing that in Brookline and Brighton and Alston, and I moved to Somerville, and a friend of mine got me a job at the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, and so I could kind of continue doing something socially and politically proactive for money. And then I went back to school. But I mean, in between that, I had like a few cafe jobs or whatever. But yeah, that event and the war starting up and seeing my generation being signed up for like another Vietnam or another two Vietnams, and you know, kids that had signed up ROTC were all getting lined up. And then by the end of it, I mean, they were going through all the reservists. Yeah, they were going through everybody. You know, multiple deployments, absolutely insane. So, yeah, I would say if you're overwhelmed, like, take your time. There's going to be plenty to do. There's going to be plenty to do. Whenever it is that you're ready, there's going to be a lot of people in need. There's going to be a lot of people hurting. A lot of messages to get out and to refute. But none of it is useful if you're completely blown apart or if you're unhealthy, if you're hurting yourself. Like, I'm the worst at this. No, I'm bad at it. I'm not the worst. I've seen worse. But as far as recognizing this human being and being like, oh yeah, it needs to be fed and watered and rested and, you know, cared for and stuff, like, not too great at that, especially when I'm depressed. So I don't know. Yeah. No, I think a lot of creative people, I think people that find it easy or maybe comfortable to deal with abstractions, find maybe the more solid things about personality harder to hold on to. For me, they're fairly meaningless. Ultimately, I mean, you know, you use your personality as like a shorthand, you know, for other people or whatnot. If you don't seem to have any fixed one, well, then, I mean, you're insane, right? And so nobody's going to deal with you. So you better present yourself as a character or other that's predictable. People get really angry when you're not predictable. So, you get really angry. We're such creatures of habit. So, but yeah, the other thing, not caring for the person and not sleeping and having that interrupt your regular relations or your employment are the diagnostic criteria for many depressive disorders. If you read the DSM-5, it will have like a constellation of effects, of symptoms, and then a time period wherein they are affecting certain primary life goals or activities. And if you hit a certain number of them within that criteria, you got it. So, diagnoses on that level done through that system, they can be open to interpretation, subjective. So, I mean, nobody's a completely objective observer of any of these things. No one is. Although, it's an unfortunate tendency of a lot of mental health professionals to believe that they are. But all of these things, like everything else in the universe, are in flux and are suffer by seemingness. So. I love that. Well, I'm fairly aware that clouds taste metallic, but time zone lines, exactly. Wow, that's some deep. That's a deep joke. That's a really deep joke. I needed to get in there. I don't know if you meant it that way, but yeah, what time zone lines taste like. So, ow, ow. Um, is it Gurdjieff? No. Alfred Korzybski, I think. Multiverse level joke, yeah, absolutely. So Alfred Korzybski, I think, is the guy that put forward in the mid 20th century the idea that would like often quoted or repeated or mutated that the map is not the territory. So the description of the thing, the idea of the thing, the depiction of the thing, the map on the wall, your three-dimensional representation, your diorama, your hologram, your um, your immersive 3D goggle experience of the thing is not the territory. So yeah, like indicating the absurdity of tasting a time zone line. It really gets into yeah, like for me reminds me of Korzybski. I almost said Gurdjieff. Okay, so we're down to the skeleton. Got a bunch of cables all over the skeleton, so I'm going to remove the cables. Yeah, dress them all back. Um, this is the kind of breakdown on a stage. I think if like we were all just hanging out, if it was known that we had to wait to go somewhere, and we were being like served drinks on stage, and the crew was hanging out or something. This is rare. It does happen. Like, hey, can we hang out here? And are you guys here? And can we hang on your bar while we wait for this ferry? While we wait for blah 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 blah. You know. And they'll be like, yeah, hang out. Every once in a while, that happens, and you have this like long-winded, man. I'm not even going to try to break this down quick because we got all this time to burn. Yeah. Oh, what? Yeah. Yeah. Pearl has become automatron. Computer times. Yeah. Um, it's pretty amazing the wizardry that she is up to nowadays. It would amaze most people. I'm not surprised, but it is just like wow. Oh wow. And also the potential for the good in the future and future positions. The population that Pearl's going to be working with, the data sets. This is all really positive stuff. And so, I mean, nowadays, working for a progressive state Department of Education is like an act of defiance. It's going to become a revolutionary act to educate people. And so I see Pearl on the front lines. And exactly who you want as somebody who's going to be a fierce advocate for the truth and for the protection and the improvement of the lives and the state of education for the children in the state of Oregon. So, and I mean, as people probably know, working, state job, government job is going to pay far, far less than the private sector. And so also, it's in very many cases, it's that kind of a sacrifice. Like my sister-in-law, does special ed. She could make 2 or 3 times what she's making in public school, in private schools that headhunt her all the time, where she could pick up the phone today and have twice the money, and has been able to do that for years and won't do it, won't leave those people, knows that there's nobody else there to help them, and she's their best shot, so she stays. And anybody that does that for any amount of time, you know, you're sacrificing, like, again, that better whatever for the family, for your kids. The things that the commercials tell you that you deserve and you need right now, and you better get it, or maybe you're not a full human. Some of the commercials seem to say. You know, you're foregoing those things to be able to do something for the community, for more people. And you know, there's a line to be drawn there. Like, I've also seen, you know, true believers self-sacrifice so much that their family doesn't have anything. You know, they never see them, and they, you know, they care more about these people than they do ever their family, and that, so there's a balance to be balance to be struck. So that clamp was not tightened down, and that was my finger. So maybe tighten that down. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, so big iron bar, you get these clamps, label them, you know, so I know what's where. I have the Tom arms color coded with spike tape, and I can just, that, you know, because they're all at different positions and you can keep them locked, but I'm going to reposition everything because it's going to be in another room. I had to kind of specifically work stuff around a kind of tight position here. So, yeah, ouch, indeed, thanks. Somebody felt my pain, all right. Yeah, Pearl's killing it. But, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. So, you know, everybody hats off to the amazing Pearl, who's going from strength to strength here. And I think is really an example of being a pretty goddamn powerful, self-actualized person. A force of nature, a force majeure, is just undeniable. And why would I want to? Just, I mean, from first meeting, just I could tell all of that, and then just it's like layers of awesome, of learning as well. And you know, I've definitely grown a lot being in a relationship with Pearl. I'd come out of something so horrible, and I did not ever think that I was going to have anything like this ever again in my life. So this is the foot that I spilled all the coffee on. It was the closest one, so like reaching over a sip of coffee, yeah, and then it oh man, you injured your foot. Do I have any fine steel wool out here? You know, this is going to be sitting somewhere for a while, and so these trouble spots, I don't want to remain because they will turn into very trouble spots by the time we get to Portland. And Casillas, what up? Wow. Let's see, maybe there's some lurkers. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some lurkers. And thank you so much for being here. This kid's hanging out, breaking down their drums. Uh, it's been finalized by the landlord that this is a no-go drumming anymore here, so packing it up, trying to get this out of the way for this move is we're going to be doing all of the things in short order, and also, I mean, Pearl's been here and has given so much to this town in a bunch of different ways and a couple different times. And I can only imagine I'm just going to have to keep my eyes open and keep my heart open to help this person saying goodbye to something that made them a lot of who they are. And I haven't had that experience of like moving away from kind of your home base and finding real identity there. You know, I moved to Colorado. You know, I didn't find that there. Yeah, I did not find my people there. And again, I can only just think and, you know, try to help. But freaking more than, you know, something like 15 years in a region, we'll do it. Oh yeah, that's right. No. You're absolutely right. It is true, Holly. I've been gifted some weird memberships for things that I feel like I'm like, when did I watch this person last? And uh, but yeah, I've got some bizarre ones. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And but I don't know. I have to imagine there are like one or two. Not all lurkers. Yeah. So, for me, on paying attention, um, one of the things that I've that I think I can see about the state of things is that for a long time, for most of my life, politics has been made so disgusting and odious an enterprise that nobody wants to consider it. Nobody wants to be involved. Nobody wants to think about it. You don't want to be exposed to the nonsense arguments. It breaks your brain. It sets up cognitive dissonance between like, holy shit, these are the managers of our affairs and they're so terribly incorrect. How could this be so? Um, it's meant to, like I said before, it's meant to do exactly what it does, is to overwhelm you, is to discourage you, is to dissuade you from actions, to make you think that it's hopeless. And so what can I do? And all of those feelings will freeze you into inaction. And they're meant to. These are all the tactics of the authoritarian in every authoritarian regime that I can identify. Flood the lane, flood the zone, just as Steve Bannon's saying. He's using the exact language. flood the fucking zone with messages, with so many messages, that nobody can barely keep up with any of it, right? And while everybody's demoralized and feeling helpless and looking for a Superman, that's when you put the knife in. That's what they're doing. That's what the shock and awe is all about. And it's also red meat to their base. You know, the triumphalism of it. It's like a freaking brass band of conservatism going off all the time. But everybody take your breaks and be healthy. But I mean, I'd recommend, or I just indicate, there's a lot to do. So we need healthy, able, and willing individuals in every sector of society to resist what's coming. Because the difference is, well, the German population of the 1930s who got rolled. Now, we're not nearly in financial straits like they were leading up to it, that, like, you know, was the cradle in which Nazism could be nursed. But people believe that they are. So you can make the same arguments, you know. It doesn't make any difference if it is or is not, if they believe themselves to be, you know, as oppressed as people coming out of the Great Depression. Yeah, you can sell them a whole lot of stuff. Yep. Yeah, I mean, there are signs, but honestly, it's not enough, you know. Because to be able to resist this, it's, you know, you're talking mass action, and mass action that is on the level that I don't think people are prepared to engage in, right? So, I mean, strikes and shutdowns of, like, mechanisms of society that we haven't seen since the labor movement of the early 20th century, and nothing like we've seen in our lifetime. Because, I mean, the machine needs workers, doesn't it? So, you know, if the workers control the means of production, which they do, right, and they can lay their hands to the very mechanisms and the gears and the levers of the machine to stop it, as was so famously said, then they can affect real and lasting change. And there's been some of this recently. UAW, their contract negotiations last year, fucking unprecedented. Having the President of the United States stand next to a UAW president as well, that hadn't happened before. So, it's going to take a lot of people being willing to sacrifice more than they have ever in their lives to resist something like this, which would be a once-in-a-century grab for totalitarianism. Yeah, some people don't want to face reality. Some people want to both sides this. Some people want to say that, you know, I can't listen to the extremes of either side. And to that I would say, no, you just don't want to listen to anything. You don't want to listen. You don't want to process. You don't want to understand these arguments to be able to understand enough about them to find a third or a fourth way that hadn't been thought about? Because that's what this takes. Breaking this conventional thinking. You actually have to maybe find out what the heck the trap is in the first place to undo it. And this false idea that there's like any kind of equivalence of extremes in American politics breaks my brain. It breaks my spirit to think that people are that stupid. Because all it takes for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. And fence riding like that, both sidesing false equivalence in a time of a fascistic takeover of the most powerful country in the history of the world, I mean, you'll get what you get. You know, you're more harmful than you know, and nobody's coming to save you. Like, I'm sure a lot of Germans in 1933, 4, 5, 6, and 7 tried to do this same horseshit, right? And I know there are going to be a bunch of people that might say to any kind of commentary like this, oh, you're being hyperbolic. This isn't the same. This isn't like a total fascistic takeover of a country. And I would ask them to give an example of how it's not related to every other fascistic takeover of a country. Just like, you know, I hear people, like during the first Trump administration, chirp up and say things like, oh, you know, well, in the light of Trump being so bad, oh, you know, George H.W. Bush, he did some really nice things for the country, right? You know, just basically they've heard on the news, hey, remember when Republicans weren't totally crazy? They were really nice. And to that I would say, okay, name one thing that George Herbert Walker Bush did that was a net benefit for the nation. One thing, I dare you. And you know what the response is to that? Because every time I hear it, I say that, is either anger or silence. So, no, to give a false equivalence to the Republican and conservative project in this country, to say that they're both equivalent, is to be completely ignorant. You're like as ignorant as Bill Maher, you know, and that's really saying something. And unfortunately, extremely dangerous, because if you're saying one is exactly like the other, where one is like kind of doofy, pro-business freaking lawyers, which is the Democrats, to fucking Nazis. And then all of a sudden, maybe people believe you, and they can't recognize a Nazi when they come for their family, when they come for their rights, when they come for their money, their future, when they come for history. You won't be able to see it, because people are like, oh, they're just like the other ones. But in what way? Show your work. That one's been breaking my brain since the inauguration, hearing a lot of stupid happy talk. As well, like a bunch of ex-Dems, give him a chance. Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, give him a chance. We don't know what he's going to do in his second term. Let's see what happens. The Young Turks, ladies and gentlemen, and birds, and thems, and theys, and zims, and zers, and every motherfucking person. Yeah, silence is violence. Silence is violence right now. You know, if you can be comfortable with all of these people losing their rights, if you can be comfortable with people like having their family members torn out of their homes or their friends torn out of their schools, people deported to this and that, setting up Guantanamo Bay for all of that. Well, it's not me. You know, if you can be comfortable with that, well, I don't know. Read some history about complicit populations that were silent during totalitarian takeovers of their country. They're not treated very well by history, okay? Not at all. Not at all, okay? Well, I don't know. A bunch of excuses are made sometimes, and, you know, maybe at the beginning to like, okay, we can let you, you're a person again, like, you know, you didn't invite all the evil all the time, just over there, just then. So we're going to give you a second chance, which is what the world had to do to Germany, I guess. We'll give you a third chance. you know, all that Otto Bismarck stuff. Okay, fine. In World War One and World War Two. Well, okay, third chance. But yeah, we're going to be that. If we aren't already are. I don't know how many of y'all did some international traveling during the Forever Wars, but being American wasn't like something that you could wear with a badge of honor a lot of places, I have to say. And rightfully so. I wholeheartedly agree with all of those sentiments. And it was funny, going to the United Kingdom, they make a sport out of making fun of America to Americans. And, you know, they'd be pushing on this open door where they'd be like, okay, God, I don't hate America that much. What's wrong with you? After I was done. So. Like, try living in it, dude. Try living in it and being as aware of the problems as you are, you know. Try living in it and being as aware of these problems and knowing powerful and influential people and knowing how basically shitty they are. And that nobody should really look up to these people, even though they do. No one should look up to them. They're some of the worst. Your politicians, not just because they're a politician, not just because they speak from a podium, not just because they speak for your party that you agree with, right? I don't think we're very good customers of politicians here. You know, we don't really, in America, we don't really have discerning tastes. Like, oh, geez, just don't kill all the babies at once, okay? Just slow down a little bit on the, like, poisoning of the water and the air and their food and with all of these neurotoxins and, yeah, for money, right? Can we stop? Can we slow it down? No. Well, we've got to improve the bottom line every quarter by law, so, like, actually, no. Actually, no. Not allowed. So, okay. Tilty bird, I just tilted. There goes the rat's nest. There it goes. I don't need to keep track of any of this. It's all just being unplugged. Each one of those things has a cable wrap, so it'll be fine. Let's turn it off. So yeah, this just looks like a box, right? But I swear, in here is a whole digital mixer with like all sorts of virtual sliders and knobs and EQ and compression and gating and effects on every channel. And not only that, you can control it via MIDI. You can control it on a network, right? Local, Ethernet, Also has a Wi-Fi card and an antenna, so you could control it over a Wi-Fi network. Let's see, 18 ends. 16 of them are XLR combo jacks, so you could either do an instrument plug or an XLR plug. And then the last two being just a balanced instrument. And then 2 main outs and 6 aux outs, XLR. So you could do 2 mains to like a PA. So say like for practice, you plug in like a whole band here, you know, 2 mix of everybody to the PA, and then individual mix 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So for like in-ears or a wedge. So good little practice digital mixer. And this is what I've been broadcasting through. So all of those drums through all of those mics into this with all of the settings, you know, gain, compression, gating, equalization, some kind of an effect. And then run out through Ethernet. Audio over Ethernet. Been waiting to have one of those for a while. Let's see. Trying to make tamales for Christmas. Yeah, corn husks. Yeah, well, I don't know, maybe where you are. It's true. Yeah. Am I back? Yeah. Did you try turning it off and on again? You know. Help desk 101. Oh, you dirty rat's nest, you. You're so ratty. Yeah. Usually the beginning of a rat's nest is the worst. And there's usually one strand that's doing most of the awful. But I have a bunch of stuff in the way that I need to get out of the way. Oh, this is looking so disheveled now. I don't like it. I mean, I like things a little messy, but not chaotic to the point where I don't know which way is up. I don't know, every once in a while, like, I like that. Usually chemically induced. Okay, so where is this coming up through? Like that. Okay. All right, and then there's still the network cable. Sorry, y'all. Well, Pearl's in a pretty never-ending series of meetings. There's a lot of state business. There's a lot of things that are changing. So you can imagine Oregon Department of Ed is embattled right now. It seems like the president wants to end the Department of Education on the federal level, and that would mean everybody's screwed downstream. Everybody. And they're going to throw all of the money and interest in education to their corporate buddies and their Fortune 500 lawyer buttheads that, I don't know, invariably tend to be on the boards of all these charter schools. But I don't know. There's like 1 in 15 or so that are like a really good school that aren't made up of corporate douchebags, and um, there are a bunch of people that have they have a very particular idea for a particular population or a particular kind of set of needs for education within the community, and they go about trying to make that available. And I know of a few in Boston that are like that, but most of them are like literally lawyers and CEOs, CFOs, COOs of, well, C-suite of Fortune 500 companies. And so it's their interests, it's dragging the culture and the idea of public education towards their kind of Randian, by which I mean Ayn Rand, view of how services and resources should be distributed. So. Yeah, for the false equivalencers, you're not going to see the freaking damage. For the people that are like, yeah, they're extreme on both sides, you're not going to see the damage. You're not going to be able to help. You'll be encouraging people to turn away. And so I went back to that thought process by being reminded of the 1980s Pink Floyd song, On the Turning Away, from the pale and downtrodden, and the words they say that we won't understand. Don't accept that what's happening is just a case of all the suffering, or you'll find that you're joining in the turning away. It's a sin that somehow light is changing to shadow and casting a shroud over all we have known. Oh my word, how the lines have grown. Standing by with a heart of stone. Is it true that we're all alone in the dream of the proud? All the wings of the night, while the daytime is fading, the speechless unite in a silent accord. Just accept that we all must share. It's not enough just to stand and stare. Is it only a dream that there'll be no more turning away? Every era you got the songs that are emblematic of resistance and having a heart and compassion. You have these anthems to it. It's rung more and more hollow as things have gone forward because things have gotten so much worse. Yeah, it's time to have Rage Against the Machine be popular again. And be like your get up in the frickin' morning music for resistance. Because, I mean, I know for the folk going out, for the WTO or the anti-war stuff of the early 20th century, or against the forever wars, there's kind of no better pump up, get amped up freaking music of resistance than Rage, really. Oh, you know, for the cables, I'll pick like a different one. It don't really matter. You know, something that'll hold them. Uh, you know, at some point, like I should just get like a road case that would hold the mixer and the stack of cables that will go with it. Well, like I think, you know, my next stage in this rig would be getting a splitter snake. So, being able to take all of like the inputs from the stage to my mixer, which would be kind of my best scenario for monitoring, and then I take whatever the fuck feed they give me as like another line. Um, but then, you know, you need two sets of lines going out from the mics, and so that's why you have a splitter snake. You have a snake that, for all of those microphones, it will go to two destinations. Like all 18 channels will go into my 18 channel mixer and then also into the house. So at that point, like for the snake and for the mixer, I'd get like a Pelican mix or something. But yeah, that's the next round of investment in this rig, which would be, you know, splitter snake, fucking desperately need new cymbals. Well, before I go, I'm gonna need to get new gig bags for the drums. So I'm gonna be shopping those out in the next couple days. I have a sales dude at Sweetwater that I work with every once in a while, but see if I can get a better price. The unfortunate thing is that it's hard to find a better price than Sweetwater because of the volume that they buy. And so with every such company that offers things like that over and above what anybody else can do, there's a crazy race to the bottom that barely anybody can survive, but like the last people standing with like a venture capitalist. So yeah. So what are we going to do if we don't have a Department of Education anymore, right, guys? What happens then? What happens when, for this fiscal year, for this budget year, they pull back even what, you know, they've laid out or promised to these states and districts? And they're already going to do that on ideological lines for certain programs, for anything having to do with trans kids or kind of any kind of gender identity. They're going to pull back on all that. Kids are already seeing their services cut. I'm fairly sure we should be on the lookout for a massive move of rights removal and restrictions for the mentally ill. Maybe some of you have noticed that whenever there's a school shooting or a mass shooting, the gun lobby gets all of their mouthpieces out there in the press to say something about how this is all caused by mental illness. Although they offer no freaking increased access to treatment or screening or anything, that we know that, you know, these people can be identified generally, and oftentimes, like with the school shooters especially, like there's an obvious problem, and either by lack of resources or resistance from the individual, resistance from the parents, resistance from the school, this individual is not given any access to treatment, and or they don't avail themselves of it, and it just blows up, literally. Sorry, rat's nest removal. Let's take a look. Okay, guys. All right. That's right. This is articulable. There you go. Yeah. Maybe even closer. Yeah, shower after this. This work. So now I can see what you're saying. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's kind of drag. I mean, there's no way that anybody can really compete, especially if you're doing a big buy. You'll end up paying like 20% more from anywhere else, pretty much. So. Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, nice. Yeah. So Kelly, okay. um, you've got some kind of ick. It sounds like. If a graham cracker and a little bit of milk. That's sounds like spare food for the timid of digestion. I'm sorry to hear that. It's not fun. Yeah, so I can only imagine what this generation coming up might be experiencing. The total destabilization of everything in their lives over and over again. Like, the pandemic kind of just being the beginning of more and more and more destabilization in their lives. And, well, the promise of America has been pretty much a flat-out lie for a while, for a lot of people. So having people my age get law degrees and live in New York State and New York City and not be able to find work, not for lack of trying, not for lack of connections, it's just there isn't. People got enough. Hang out your own shingle. But that takes a whole lot, and that's not what people signed up for, right? So, same thing. One of the last kind of education and career fads was computer science. Everybody go back and get retrained in computer science and get all these lovely jobs for about 10 years until, I don't know, the past few, where it's been all layoffs all the time by all the major technology companies, and then everybody else following suit to try to bone out their staff to stay competitive. So the things that we've told people, this will get you ahead, this is what you need to do to be responsible, this is what you need to do to have a comfortable life. For so many people, it's been a bald-faced lie. And who wins? Well, the institutions that may have given you this education, the banks that have financed it, all the little vendors that try to get a piece out of you while you're being educated, and the industry that gets to deal with this fad, get a bunch of cheap labor until they technology you right out of the place. So, how many times can people fall for that until they drop out? Until they're like, okay, they didn't do anything other than play reindeer games. So, Oh, they won't work. They can't own a home. And all this stuff about, the kids today, the last couple of generations, the millennials. Yeah, it's because, like, the generation that raised them decided to vote away all of everything that they may have been able to use to improve their lives. Just like my parents' generation voted away everything for the Gen X and Gen Y kids. So in 1981 in Massachusetts, there was a new tax law that was passed that massively reduced the amount of money coming in for schools by like $100 million every year. So before I got to access public school, the voters of Massachusetts, guys, this ain't Texas, Massachusetts, voted to make schools poorer, less secure, less well-staffed every year. Not just like, and not just the kids in poor districts, but everywhere. And there are many such tax measures that were passed in the absolute glee of the beginning of the first Reagan administration, where he had told everybody, I have the solution to get, to make this a fucking gleaming utopia, which is to annihilate public services, to annihilate public servants, the unions, the air traffic controllers, teachers' unions. People were so gleeful. This was a new day of, we're free from government. We don't need it anymore, so we don't need to pay for these schools. That's just an onerous burden. That's just extra money out of my pocket. Why do these kids need a freaking book or a pencil? Okay, so this trend has been, like I'm trying to indicate, this trend has been going on for almost 50 years. Has the tide been going out where people of certain means have looked back and say, oh, well, you don't need this anymore, and have pulled the ladder up behind them and have left a fair amount of people in the lurch outside of the possibility for ownership of a home, which is basically your entree into the middle class, how you could build any wealth. It was the system by which the middle class was ever able to build wealth in this nation, has been cut off for a generation of people. And we want to pretend. We want to pretend that that's not happening, as a society, and that it's not serious. Oh, those kids, maybe, I don't know. So I can feel better about it. Maybe they could visibly work harder for the nothing that they have. Right. I mean, it seems as though MSNBC, as a chorus, rises up to say that. Yeah, Ronald Wilson Reagan came to your high school. That must have been a big deal. Oh, yeah, no, you definitely want security for that guy because, well, people had tried to shoot him already. And, it's kind of dangerous having your vice president being the former director of the Central Intelligence Agency, and maybe with some political aspirations of his own. Thanks for saying that, Kelly. I mean, and the thing about Reagan, holy Moses, the dude was a Democrat. Like a real one. He was the head of a union. He was the SAG president. And until he met Nancy. He divorced, his first wife divorced him. who is also a movie star, and he met Nancy, and Nancy flipped him to conservative. Um, but this is like a dirty son of a bitch that named names during the freaking McCarthy era. This is not a man of honor or principle. And after that, he became a corporate shill. He was like the GE movie of the week. He's the presenter of the GE movie of the week. Anything for the dollar, right? Oh well, and I'll look good with all the Brill cream in frickin' Illinois in my head. And, well, not just on it, but seemingly after a while in it. It's not a man of honor. And I mean, as far as the anti-war movement, you could say after Nixon, Reagan's one of the most despised characters. Despised. And rightfully so. He should be. His treatment of anti-war protesters in California, I mean, it's inhumane. It's unconscionable. I mean, in a just society, he should be tried and convicted for the pain and suffering that he visited upon students. They got so mad that they took over some little unincorporated land on the Berkeley campus and started like a garden. And I mean, it was just fucked. It wasn't really a garden. They didn't organize it very well. I mean, well, that was the criticism, right? So it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't a total disaster either. But that was like some of the pretense by which some of the escalation by the National Guard for subsequent protests happened on the Berkeley campus. So, yeah, Reagan, who got the evangelical crazy people to vote as a bloc for the first time, which made our politics far, 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 far more dangerous. Am I coming through, though? I don't know. Am I coming through here? I'm not sure. Is it my internet that's cutting out again? I've got all the bars. I've got all the things. I should have connectivity. I could dip in and out again. Pennsylvania, it's good. I am coming through. Okay. Either way, just let me know. Anybody else that's hanging out. I'm just wrapping cables here. So, maybe I'll display how I'm doing this. Maybe I'll demonstrate. Right. Cool. Good. Yeah. Because I had that signal interruption. Thanks, Helgear. That signal interruption before. So, rat's nest becomes, wrapped cables that are individual, got their own thing. They can kind of be thrown into a case and they will be all separate. They will not retangle. So, because of the way cables are wrapped, if you don't use specific techniques, you can train into them kind of curvatures, right? And so, like, you'll see people doing this, right? That will train like a hard bend here, and then a hard bend here, and a hard bend there, and that bend will stay in your cable and will make it weaker over time. And your shielding will go first, and then maybe perhaps the actual signal cable that's in there. But either way, it ain't good. And the other thing is that you wrap them all like just in a line, in a spiral. It trains a spiral in it so that it will maintain that curvature. Also, and it's all sprung in one direction. And so it's looking to spring the other direction, right? To release all of that potential energy that you've put into it, if we're talking physical. Um, so the idea is, so you don't go in one loop, you do what's called over under. And so you make, I don't know if you can see it, so you do one over, so like a regular loop that you do. Okay, so here's a loop. And then you do like a reverse loop. If you can see, I'm like making another loop against that loop, like turning it the other way, turning it inside. So it's like you take out a length, and then you twist it one direction, and the one direction is like flat, the regular thing, and then you take a length and you twist it the other direction. Forward was like under, well, the over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. So this is so long a cable, I tried to just do it visually. I've made this loop too small, right? So for certain lengths of cable, again, you don't want like the curve to be so hard on your circle that it does that as well. You want it to be loose enough. So I just didn't, so I'm gonna do longer lengths. So over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And when I'm taking out a length, I'm smoothing out the twist in the cable, over, under, and then you get this. So, and the other thing is when it's stacked like this, if you stack over and under, you can leave like a long cable in a pile and it will unloop like back and forth, like over, under. And if you do it in a spiral, or like if you just do it in a wound, it'll pull it out and it'll pull off a couple of those loops as well. And the thing is, those loops, since you have that amount of potential energy entrained into the cable, it won't let go. And so you'll be pulling out these loops. And so instead of having a straight line of a cable, you'll have a bunch of loops trailing around, and those can trip people up. You can do whatever. So like guitar players that like to range around if they don't have a wireless system from their amp need to have like their cables kind of wrapped this way to start. Same thing with singers. Um, like stand-up comedians who do like a huge stage, or anybody that's ranging that large, like 60 feet or something. You do, like it's an over under, but it's a figure eight. So you make like an eight, and rather than just like a round on the stage, you make an eight. And so the thing pulls off in this even figure eight over under thing. And so you can do like an 80-foot length of cable to one microphone and have it be a straight line every time. If you do it right. Little cable college there. Cable coiling college. So yeah, rat's nest becomes, you know, hang on any wall, you can use all of those. And the other thing is that it puts less wear and tear on your cables. And you'll find if you use cable wraps and you wrap things over under, your cables will last twice as long or more, like 5 times as long. Oh yeah, karaoke gigs, man. That's some fun stuff. That, you know, I've thought about doing that every once in a while. You know, being a host for some karaoke thing. It's, you don't need much gear, enough gear to, you know, at least to start. Like, you can get fancy with it, obviously, but like a lot of people do their things with next to nothing. And like the karaoke setups that we would go to here in Austin, you know, you don't need much to have it. You know, like a basic mixer, so that you can have mains and a few inputs for playback in the mics, and a couple mics at least, so at least 4 channels, hopefully 8, and outputs for, you know, main stereo and at least one monitor mix, or hopefully 2 or 4. So you can have one and the person on stage can have one, either in the cans, or if they're using a wedge, you like, generally when I'm mixing monitors for anybody and they're using a wedge, I want a wedge next to me, and I'll bring up whatever their mix is so that I can hear what they're hearing through a speaker, and I'll make sure that it's functional, or like I'll put them next to each other so I know that they sound the same, and I'll put it next to me and so I can hear what they're hearing, rather than like, because if you put their mix on headphones, like you can hear what the signal is, you can hear if signal's coming through, or you can't hear what it sounds like in the room with like all the rest of the noise in the room or whatnot, and that could be particular to what they're able to hear and not hear. So um, so yeah, so you'd want all of that, but the thing is, with the gear that I already have, I could just take pieces of it and do it. I would just need a PA, so that would be like, you know, some powered speakers and and stands, and like a wedge. I mean, you could even just do another smaller speaker on a stand. I've seen people do that rather than a wedge, but it's good to have a floor wedge because it puts the playback signal at some greater length and not at the same direct height as the microphone, so it helps with feedback. Oh, right on. So no, it's really good for hosts, especially at the beginning. Um, you know, if you have a drinking crowd, they haven't gotten there yet, uh, and to break the ice, right? You go up there and you do one. You know, that's you. You know, you don't want to scare people with like some ringer, um, but like a song that everybody knows that, you know, you could do decently, so that people can see that it's not all that scary, and the people that are kind of game are like, yeah, I can do that, get me on that, you know, all the different reactions. But yeah, that's a really good way, like, to have a decent singer. And so Kelly was the person you were shadowing here running this karaoke thing. Were they a good singer, or were they relying on you to kind of just to guss up the crowd a little bit? Oh yeah, no wonder you were there. Yeah, that would make the job way more difficult, right? If you can't do it yourself, um, and that's you know, I don't have a great voice, but I have a serviceable one. So um, yeah, that would work with me. Yeah, I'd do that. So I know the scariest stuff we've been seeing here in Austin has been the ice raids on businesses, and the removal of students from some of the schools that we've been hearing about. Um, I don't know if any of you have personal um, interactions with any of the new edicts handed down from the federal government, or, you know, yeah, you have like friends or family members, or you yourself have are in the direct line of fire right now. I know Pearl and I don't feel safe here anymore, and it's only the beginning. Um, oh yeah, no. So yeah, if Yeah, if the bartender's giving you free drinks, then everybody's, yeah, I mean, you're doing good business for everyone. Yeah, yeah, with your voice. Wow, sound is not working very well. Okay. Let's see. Um, I don't have any isolation on. Yeah. No, it's what happens in a bar. Somebody that's a vibe. You want them there. You want them there. Somebody that livens up the thing because, like, however much a good time that those people are having, they're going to produce like somebody else, or whole tables of people ordering more drinks because it's just like, oh wow, the vibe in the room is hot. Let me get down on this. Um, Generally, so it's also why you have ladies' night, I guess. So, yeah, I think it's not a terrible thing to be so used. Um, but yeah, definitely. Um, if I couldn't sing, I'd have a ringer. I'd have somebody that could actually do it hanging, or they would be like a partner. Yeah, I guess the sound is a variable here. Let me. Yeah, not sure what to do about that then. Yeah, there's a lot of buggy stuff with the system recently. I don't know. I've been streaming very much, so generally you get used to these things as they crop up. Google's giving over more of the processes to automatic thinkers. Yeah. Has anybody else found that spell check is worse than it was? Because I find on Google services and just about everything else that the guesses, even on iPhone, the guesses for things are far, far dumber within like the past 6, 9 months or so. Ridiculous guesses of things, and to me, it's like the equivalent of what some people call finglers. If you remember the first AI generated images of like people would have these fingers that would like go all sorts of different ways, and there'd be many of them, and they'd be like blowing away in the wind. Some people call finglers. So it seems like AI generated stupid guesses for your next word or what you thought you were trying to spell, equivalent to finglers. So I mean, yeah. The other thing is like for me, while all of this was going down, just like everybody started beefing, everybody again and again and again, and like um, I don't think it'll ever really be fully known the extent to which Pearl and myself opened up our time and our brains to trying to solve and put down very many of these fires for a bunch of people, and we became, for a fair amount of the summer, the unofficial HR department of this movement. And we would pick up the phone at 10 a.m. and we get off the phone with people at 1 a.m. trying to solve their shit. I'm trying to help them, trying to protect them, trying to counsel them. advise them. And we were both hoping that this cycle of backbiting and recriminations would be done by around August. You know, there was enough. There's enough. There's enough stuff going on in June, and actual grievances and real hurt and some amount of disorder that was going to take some time to even out. It's going to take some time for people to be able to see clearly enough beyond their own needs and beyond their own personal hurt to give enough ground to be able to work collaboratively. And we gave people endless chances on this. I can't tell you. And I'm not going to say anybody's name, but we tried to knit up so many different corners of this and get people to like drop their fight and at least to just like, you don't have to like each other, you don't have to get along, you don't have to protest together, you don't have to do anything, just stop attacking each other. Okay, just that. And found over and over again through all of these efforts that that was a waste of time, that people couldn't put down their fight, they would not do it, they couldn't get beyond their own small, prurient, local interests. And we've just been losing and losing. We've been losing people, we've been losing energy, we've been losing support, we've been losing credibility, we've been losing steam. We've been losing. I mean, there's still great work being done. I'm not saying there isn't great work being done. People are still out there, each and every freaking effort. And like most times, the people that are doing a lot of the real heavy lifting and the real work are not as, well, they're not as popular because, well, it seems clear what people on the internet want, and it isn't information. They want to watch a reality television show. Okay, that's what sells around here. That's what most people are interested in. That's what takes people's whole fucking brains away from what is like the very basic and serious work of this movement. And mine too. So, and I feel like totally zapped, like a fried circuit from it. Like no more information passing in. The power supply is done. And like I've touched a hot stove, very, very hot, and lost a lot for me being naive, for me naively believing in people's better natures, and naively believing that, you know, for the sake of actually like what's important in this movement to like put down the pettiness. No one could do it. And part of it is that, you know, this medium that we're dealing with, YouTube, social media, drives it. You're rewarded for more drama, for more upset, for yelling back and forth, for swearing at people, for vilifying people, for being a victim, and for denying people's actual victimhood. You are rewarded by YouTube and Google for all of these fucking evil things. Okay? And so there's no wonder why people can't stop. And especially people that have never had anything like the attention that they've ever had before, like on here. Like when you get 1,000 people or something in your life, and all of a sudden you're in front of 1,000 people. Now, how many of you have stepped on a stage playing in front of 1,000 people? It's very few, I'm guessing, right? So, you know what, performers, like, they get really addicted to that feeling. Really addicted. And will give up a lot of other things in their life to maintain the being in the presence of that feeling and having that level of acceptance. They'll do anything. They'll do anything. They'll lie to themselves. They'll treat their friends and family like utter garbage because of everything that they need to keep that freaking wheel spinning. To be back on that stage and to be bathed in that glorious light. They'll do anything. Like a crackhead. And so, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody of every stripe in the universe, are we not painfully now aware that there are a bunch of attention crackheads in our midst that cannot help themselves, that are out there all the time, no matter what it is, every little last scintilla of their life online for money, right? And is that driving the cause, or is it just driving, I don't know, interest in them as like a character on a reality television show? I say we have a bunch of crackheads. Okay. I've dealt with them before. Okay. I know all the lies and the stupid little songs that you might sing to yourself to tell yourself why you need your next hit. And like, just as you're apologizing for doing the last damage of like stealing from your friends or family to be able to get your next hit, as somebody's saying, oh, this is why you shouldn't do it anymore, and you're like, yeah, it's so terrible, I should never do it anymore. Crackheads. Can't fucking help themselves. And have told themselves that, like, the one equals activism. Sorry. I'm done. Like, I've played in this romper room to my detriment for a long time in a way that, like, I think was just really inefficient. And I fell for a lot of these traps. I fell for a lot of this. I didn't know how I would react to, this kind of social media stuff. I've been in front of bigger audiences, for sure. But, so, this has a particular thing to it. And it's particularly addictive, and it's refined to be perniciously addictive. So, I've been trying to abstain. I've been trying to see where, like, I'm grabbing on too much and chasing after the thing. That's why you've seen me back off, because, like, I don't understand kind of my relationship to this, or like what it means anymore. Like, have to kind of recontextualize and regroup after all of the shit of the summer, and like nothing got solved. All the same fucking problems, all the same fights. The same fight over the occupation in the same way being done by the same people since June. How much energy and time, how much has been taken by that? Like, yeah, there's stuff to be solved. Yeah, there's stuff to be worked out. You don't want to ignore shit like that. Absolutely. Are there bad actors? Yeah, there are. Like, do they need to be called out? Abso-fucking-lutely. Do we need to, like, fucking concentrate on this to, like, the exclusion of so many other things? No. Not as much. In my opinion, not as much as we have. But, like, what sells? What sells? What makes all the money, right? The dust up between DOA and frickin' Aaron, right? Boobgate. Shit like this, right? So that gets all the attention. That makes all the cash. Like, Reese's new fucking squabble with somebody, right? Maryland's got a new crisis. Like, that's what gets all the attention and makes all the money here. Most of those people won't step on the street, and when they do, are ineffective. Show up for like an hour, right? At night. You're not stopping anybody's business. You're standing out there for yourself. More for yourself than being effective. Is that effective tactically to stop them, to stop their recruiting, to get the message out, to stop the business that's going on the day? I would say no. Is it an effective picket? No. So, there's still people just going out there, not engaging with any of that stuff. Not engaging, right? There's still people doing that work, killing it. And even, like, you've got to get the monkey off your back. Somebody's coming for you. You need to clear the air. I have no fucking problem. But, like, if that becomes, like, the identifying characteristic of your channel, holy shit, dude. Holy fucking shit. What are you doing? What are you in fact doing other than like serving yourself? And I mean, it's so many. So many. And I didn't get the feeling that this was what it was when I joined. I didn't. It seemed like these people believed it, truly. Like there are so many people out there on the street at first willing to like risk their ass and be present and to give of themselves and to give of their time to this thing. And as soon as it wasn't all freaking perfect, pretty, and roses, like that just wasn't the case anymore. Well, yeah, no, I mean, Maryland's a fraud. I'm like, no, now I'm naming names, I guess. No, and throwing barbs. Like, she ministers to a population of people that have very, very low critical thinking skills. She has very, very low critical thinking skills. She presents topics in the like, it's lower quality than WebMD, which I mean to say is nearly dangerous, right? Going over anxiety and depression and going over magical thinking and going over like gaslighting and going over all of these very serious psychological topics without like a cursory knowledge of what they are is potentially dangerous. And especially if you're doing it for self-serving reasons, if you're like side-eyeing, proving a point like, okay, so this is what gaslighting is, and I'm going to say all of these people that are critical of me are now this thing. It's like, it's not even like barely veiled, where she'll have this topic discussion of like some kind of negative character attribute and then give a bunch of examples of that negative character attribute. So it's not as though she's actually ministering, to her population, if she could possibly, which I don't believe she could, but also she's just using it to pigpile on her perceived enemies. Not helpful. Fraudulent. Fraudulently, like, trying to say, I am here for the comfort of all people. Like, I'm here to be nice. Where we know in the background, she's just been, like, knife out attacking all of her former mods, all of these former associates. Heard from a bunch of them. She don't care. None of those people care. And, like, I get the Aaron camp thing. There is a camp over there. They are dumb. He is an abusive dork. No kidding. But like, is he Jesus of anti-Scientology? Do we need to freaking pay attention to this person at all? Do we need to care anymore? If we can see that he is in fact counterproductive if he is actually this self-aggrandizing, and at the same time he's using the movement to be able to like pick up the next new filly he's going to have an extramarital affair with, and be homophobic and racist and Republican at the same time, which, I'm sorry, if you're Republican, if you voted Republican this cycle, I'm not going to be nice to you like other people. You suck. You do. You really do. You're a self-interested jerk. And you're ignorant. And you're a vicious bigot. Or you underwrite and co-sign vicious bigotry. So, no. No, Maryland would give you a pass. Oh, it doesn't matter, the extremes. Either you countenance neo-Nazism or you don't. It's not a nuanced thing, really. It's not. So, to me, that's my opinion. Right? I think Jesus has some choice words for people that are lukewarm and fence ride. If you need Jesus to tell you. Jesus was not a neutral character either. He's not a fence rider. And he's no friend of the rich. So, does a fence rider go into the temple and turn over the money changers' tables? Is that what a fence rider does? Or is that knowing that that means death in that society? Right? So. Well, Alan, thanks a lot for your bigotry and your ignorance. You're a bigoted, ignorant person. You voted for Trump. You voted for the worst person in the history of the United States to be nominated for president. You voted for the absolute takeover of the federal government. You voted for more kids going hungry, for more kids dying in childbirth, for more mothers dying in childbirth, for more grandmas being on the street and being homeless, for more vets being homeless, for more people in general to be homeless, for more addiction, for less mental health treatment, for more expensive health care, for more expensive everything, and to get us involved in a fucking war within a year that is going to be the detriment to a generation. Oh, no. Doctor Who, please bring him back. Don't hide him. Don't hide the ignorant bigot. Don't hide people on my channel. Unless I say so. I was having a conversation with the ignorant bigot. It's not a neutral thing just to vote Republican in this day and age. It's not. You're voting for the destruction of certain peoples. You're voting for the destruction of the LGBTQ plus IA community. It's not a neutral thing. I grew up in a house, right, where my father worked to provide low-income housing for elderly people for 45 years. And watching him go through, like, whoever was HUD secretary defined how many people he would be able to save or not from the street. And every Republican one meant that he was able to save less grandmas from being homeless on the street. No, okay, so she pulled the trigger a little too fast, Alan. No, it's not presumptuous, Alan. That's what you voted for, whether you know it or not, okay? It's not presumptuous. Maybe I know more about your vote than you do. I don't presume to take myself out of the running for being aware of what the Republican Party platform is and what they're going to do once they have power. Maybe you're able to remove yourself from those things. I am not. And so the difference between me and you in that would be ignorance. So you're ignorant, sir. Prove me wrong. Show your work. Prove me wrong. How is this not going to lead to a gutting of social services and making more people on the bottom suffer. How is it not? How is it not already doing it in the first weeks? You clod. You vicious, self-interested, bigoted, ignorant clod. This is what my channel has always been. I'll listen. I'll listen to whatever you have to say. Yeah, no, you're, no. Do you know MBAs by the rest of academia are seen as the laziest wastoids of like some fucking country club that they washed up from? I'm sorry. A master's in business administration? No wonder. No wonder. You think that's an accomplishment? That's fucking hilarious. I could fall off a log and get an MBA. MBA ain't shit. And especially in America, when that is meant like the gutting of the working person for an efficiency scheme, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're an ignorant person. You don't even know what an MBA is worth. You think that's a fucking medal. Like Aaron Smith Levin thinks, oh, I'm a fucking finance bro and a real estate mogul. I have achieved something in life. Unfortunately, you have not, sir. MBA ain't worth shit. Wipe my ass with an MBA. Yeah, great, great. Way to go. Way to go. I'm glad you did. It's not a huge thing, okay? It means that you'll make money. It means that you'll pooch up your derriere over the freaking barrel for whatever corporate concern comes around to be serviced. So you'll readily service the client. You've been trained to service the client. Way to go. Yeah, seriously. No, if you do measurements of who gets MBAs and like what they actually could or could not do, yeah. Oh, self-made. You worked. Ooh, I bet you lord that over poor people, right? I bet you do. You tell yourself about your rugged individualism and how I got mine, Jack, so why can't these people pull themselves up by their non-existent bootstraps, right? Go Trump, right? I pay my taxes and, yeah, dude. Yes, a very regular citizen, okay, who voted for a Nazi. You voted for Nazism, and that's what you're getting, okay? That's what you're getting. And we're going to go to war. You're going to have buyer's remorse pretty soon. And I hope you remember this discussion. That maybe what you think is so valuable out there is worth shit in my world. Ain't worth spit, okay? I know what work is. I'm a hardworking man. I was trained to be a hardworking man. I've rented my body doing some of the more dangerous work out there. Okay? I know what work is. An MBA and the things that it affords you, the C-suite and people that exist there are some of the worst folk I know. And it's not as though I haven't been in the halls of business. I've been in the halls of business. I've been involved in deals, $100 million deals. Written legal letters that represent millions of dollars of business, okay? I'm not a slouch. And I also, I've been there, dude. I've been into the serious freaking waters of business. And so I think I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. I'm sorry that your officious clerkness isn't enough for this day and age, but it isn't. And you're holding on to these things that society has told you, this is what it is to win, and their lies makes you ignorant. I'm sorry, but it does. It makes you ignorant. And we can't afford this kind of ignorance anymore. We can't afford people saying, oh, what I've been sold and the fucking stupid myth and story of how things should go is how things should go. We're going to die under that. If we have people ignorant as you believing what you do about Trump and about what an MBA means, we're not going to survive. And honestly, less of us have been surviving for that ignorance. Less of us have been surviving for, like, I don't know, people like you lording your shit over people who actually work for a living. Sorry, y'all. This society is unfair. And to say that you're part in it because you got an MBA and you worked for it is justified. Your vote for Trump is justified because the work that you did is the most ludicrous horseshit I've heard today. Okay? Like, people I worked with, you know, out there on the job site, fucking are honest, hardworking people. Many of them serve their country. And will not get what they need in life to just cover the basics of their family. Although I will bet everything that I have that they all work 10 times harder than you ever have in your life. And they have to blast themselves apart serving folk like you. You voted for Trump, you voted for less fairness. For that. For labor on that level to be worth less. Because you're dealing with a developer who wouldn't pay their subs, wouldn't pay their subcontractors. I've worked for a GC, I've been a subcontractor. I think this person's left. So, oh, they really got my goat here, man. They really got my goat. Ooh, okay, you didn't leave. Yeah, it wasn't just me. Trump won the popular vote. Yeah, I know. We produced like a bunch of fucking idiots by not properly educating people in this country for 2 generations, no doubt. Public education has been systematically dismantled by the right for my entire life. And you're like, oh, why do people make this stupid fucking decision? Because they're scared. They're scared and they're uneducated. They don't understand history. They don't understand politics. They don't understand the context in which they are playing. They don't understand the meaning of the word socialist. They don't understand the meaning of the word communist. They don't understand the meanings of these words, and Trump doesn't either. Yeah, the voters have spoken for Nazism, like they did in Germany. So way to go! Wave your Nazi flag, you Nazi. Wave your fucking Nazi flag. And then I hope you feel it. I hope you feel it in your heart when you see the camp start up. When you see people beaten to shit in Guantanamo Bay. When you see your neighbors disappearing. When you see the economy go to fuck. Because of the tariffs. Because of this trade war that he's starting up with the world. That all of industry and Wall Street's like, would you please fucking stop? Because we're trying to make some money over here. You're trying to be a fascist. No, it's because we didn't educate people for 2 generations and things are tight that people want to change. God damn. You're thick as a brick. You're thick as a brick. And it's good that I'm talking to you because it's like I'm talking to the rest of dumb fucking half well-heeled America here that think they got it made. I'm going to be one of the fucking exceptional ones out here. When you're being played, obviously. I've been on the other side with the people fucking playing you who laugh when they do it. Okay? I don't know how many governors or mayors or senators or anything that you met. These aren't nice people. Okay? These aren't like the regular folk. Right? These people have been through the ringer and they fought for everything tooth and nail and lost everything, lost all of their principles and gained some of them back, right? Sometimes not very nice people. The one that you voted for, like, everybody hates him. His own family, everybody around him, they just have to deal with him. Everybody has had to deal with him because in the 70s, he was Fred's kid. Okay? In the 70s, in like fucking Queens development, right? Because they hadn't moved to the island yet. They were a small shop, making all their money off of fucking Section 8, okay? Right? And getting dinged up by the federal government for being fucking racist. He was Fred's kid. That's who he was. You had to get around Fred's freaking evil Wolverine-faced kid. Fred Trump, right? That's who he was. With like $200 million in his pocket soon as he cried. Okay? And ever since then, he's been some development asshole in the 5 boroughs that people have had to get around, who tried to represent himself as a top 10 developer on Manhattan, the actual developers, the actual fucking general contractors and designers who do most of that work. He's not in the top 10. Never has been. Okay? They laugh at him. He is a joke. They're a family shop and a shitty one at that. Always have been, right? And then he was this fucking media star, right? For a while. Well, I don't know. You know, he was on all the shows and like his divorces, late 80s, early 90s, all that shit. You know, he had the game, he had the plane, he had the vodka, he had the steaks, he had the this, he had the that. It's a fucking carnival barker. You voted for one of the worst men in American history. You idiot. And you're proud of it. You're proud of your MBA and you're proud of your idiot vote. Okay. Well, I've been wanting to say this stuff to a Trump voter for a while. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. So, I think it's in Buddhism, and it's a bunch of other philosophies that try to, afford you some perspective on very many painful kind of episodes in life or things that can be, vexatious. Maybe like meeting somebody of a very varying difference of opinion that you want to just like kind of pontificate at. Well, you could see them as like, oh my God, they're tearing me down. They're eating my life. They're messing me up. Or you can see them as an opportunity, as a gift for you to be able to test your ideas, for you to be able to see if they actually stand up and to have any kind of pushback. So that's why I don't want to delete people from the channel. That's why I don't want to remove people unless it's like, crazy ad hominem. If it's racial, ethnic, homophobic slurs, stuff like that. But difference of opinion, yeah, it's my channel. I'm here. I get to talk the most. You can write a little bit at a time. And that's just like, that's how it is set up. That's the context. But, yeah, I'd rather take it on. And I'd rather expose other people to these ideas rather than to curate this like very narrow and specific experience. But it's more volatile. I'm more volatile. So, got anything more to say? Ignorant Trump voter with the MBA. Yeah, I'm guessing you don't know your history either. I'm guessing you don't know the meaning of like the like outside of American politics definition of libertarianism, communism, socialism, democratic socialism, anarcho-syndicalism, any of these things. So, have a great night. You voted for a fucking Nazi, and that means you're a Nazi. Yeah. I mean, Seriously. It's the lowest advanced degree I can think of is a master's in business administration. It's the lowest. I mean, there are people that do great things with these things. There are people that go on, they run great organizations. Not all MBA people are made alike, but very many of them are. And I just assumed that the Trump supporter one isn't going out there and running a nonprofit, you know. So, because certainly, yeah, like nonprofit development, like my father was doing, he was, pulling from that pool of talent. But you'd have to be extremely careful because you'd pick people up from MBA programs and they wouldn't understand what the fuck you were doing. They wouldn't understand like the charity of it. They wouldn't understand like, okay, but the angle and here's a chisel and here's this opportunity. It's like, no, we're trying to add value for these people. You don't get it? No, you don't get it. Oh, you can't get it? Oh, shit. It's either trained or beaten out of you. Oh, damn. So, generally, I've heard it all. I've heard a lot of things because, and the other thing is like, I seek out this kind of activity. I have for a long time, and I've mentioned it on live streams before, that when I was traveling and playing a bunch of shows around the place, and so many times you have a couple hours in an airport, and I'm this kind of freaky guy. I would find like the most buttoned down, businessy, like everybody with a suit jacket on bar, and try to strike up a conversation with somebody not of my age group about what they were seeing in the world. And like just, you start small and easy enough with people that have been looking at stuff to kind of mention stuff and balloon it to a 30,000 foot view. And you get to know, from that perspective, I find people's larger ideas philosophically about how they see things structurally, about how they relate to the world, how they, through their job or whatever else it is. Some people are completely that. Some people are, a cause that they've dedicated themselves to, or, very many people are of no fixed. So, yeah. I started yelling. Damn, I did. Well, I have to say, maybe many of you have been really, really stressed out the past couple of weeks since the inauguration. I didn't even bring up the Elon Musk thing. I don't know, maybe you guys saw the inauguration in this, what they're calling an exuberant young old man with Asperger's syndrome. They're blaming it on Asperger's. I heard denizens of the right saying that, and like, oh, you're not sensitive to the spectrum if you're giving Elon Musk shit for shooting a Nazi salute twice. How dare you? I thought typical right-wing fashion, they'll try to do some kind of reverso move with like a pet concern of the left, and be like, oh, well, I thought you guys all supported this, huh? Well, it seems you don't. You're all hypocrites. Da, da, da. In the most disingenuous way possible. But I think this one takes the cake because you're disingenuously misrepresenting Nazism as not being that. And it's not like there's no direct throughput either. I mean, I think Trump's family comes from the region where a lot of this was formed ideologically in Germany. He tried to keep that secret for a while, that his family's hails from Bavaria. And that Fred was much enamored with the American Bund and the America First movement as it was originally formed in the United States, where in the 1930s you were able to hold rallies that would fill Madison Square Garden. And you would have these ideologies professed from the most listened to radio programs in the country. Like I'm trying to remember the name of this Boston priest, who is one of the most foremost American Nazis, who had this. It's not Connolly, something Connerin. I don't have it. Forgot the name. But I'm missing it. Ben here. Amanda Beaumont. I'm going to go back. I'm going to find what this is. Where's here? You're out of the United States. You're out of the United States. Where are you? Because I know more and more people are doing this now. I knew a fair amount to do them. That would have been a good idea, actually. I probably would have been a lot saner. Oh my God. Woo! Well, I mean, that does look attractive. And for a lot of reasons. That does look very attractive. Yeah, a friend smarter than me left during the Biden administration because he was pretty sure it was going this way. And he's Jewish. And he was afraid for his family. He was afraid for his daughter. It was also the issue of raising children in a country where the leading cause of untimely death of minors is gun violence, and he would be damned because he has means so that he could leave. You know, he's not like a rich man, but he's comfortable and brave, and got his family out. And honestly, like I know he's had it's been troublesome in some ways, but his daughter has been exposed to like half of Europe now, and is excited about the world in a way that few American children are, because they can't be, because they haven't been exposed to they don't even know it's there. Okay, they've been told about it, but they haven't even really been told about it well enough for them to actually like be engaged in the world. Because we are so xenophobic as a society, we don't know the news of the rest of the world. It's not reported on our news. Our newspapers barely touch it. News, the television, cable news, way less. Not with a 10-foot pole, and when they do, not accurately. So we're trained to be ignorant idiots about the rest of the world, and to not have heart for it, or to be aware that we are connected to it and affecting all of it. And it's only a society in like the glut of the shitty back end of an empire who would be ignorant enough to like turn their back on the happenings of the world that they have been ruling. Because oh no, usually that's when it comes up behind you to bite you in the ass. All the time. The Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the English. You'd think people would learn. Or maybe we're fated to this same thing, which, you know, no, we're not. I refuse to believe that. So yeah, it was Bush. I mean, no shit. Yeah, I tried to tell people as well, like, people had all these hopes for Obama, Yeah, I was looking to leave under Bush, and a friend of mine convinced me not to. And I did a bunch of activism stuff and made a bunch of music. Um, she said it was like 2002, and I was, you know, I was trying to do the right thing. And I was still losing my mind and thinking that it would be better to run. And she said, "Look, if you need to, absolutely. If this is what your life is, fine. But also, I'll remind you, who better knows, you know, the problems that are here. Like, you've been raised in this thing, other people haven't. Not only that, but you're aware that there's something wrong. Not only that, you're aware of what's wrong, and you have some idea of what to do about it. So that almost gives you a responsibility. Um, so on that basis, I stayed, but I was very. I wanted out. I want out now. Um, and it's up to each person, I think. Expats that leave for this kind of political pressure, it's generally a positive thing in that you are voting with your feet and your dollar. That you won't support this anymore, and that's admirable. That's fucking admirable. Because it's like some things are easier here, but most of it's harder. Most of it's just a trick, a convenience trick, like a lie about convenience to get you to give over more of your fucking freedom and your time. So it's so. And I feel the same thing about my friend, um, who moved his family out of necessity, and is just like, look, we need to live our freaking lives. I want to live my damn life. It's also, everybody's got to choose their level of involvement, and there's no one way that I can tell you. So, but that's admirable. I'm reeling here thinking of what my life would be like if I had made that other choice. Um, I have no idea what it would be. It's such a drastic change. You have no ability to know what that is. Everyone in chat under 40 and under get rich now. SS retirement age will probably be 80. Yeah. Yeah, like Clark Griswold's, non nutritional food varnish that he had made so he could get his bonus in Christmas vacation. That might keep us alive for that long. Yeah. Yeah, it's like that's only in between 200 and 300, chemical compounds that the EU completely bans, and I'm guessing New Zealand as well. That the United States is just like, have at it. Oh, I don't care that it's a petroleum byproduct. I don't care. Oh, raised cancer rates. Crazy neurological disorders. It's cheaper. You like the color, right? Tastes good. Okay. Shut up. Oh, by the way, screw you on healthcare. Not getting that either. So, like, in these places, most of the rest of the world, where they actually are trying to protect their citizens, they will educate you. They won't poison you with the fucking food. And they'll give, so you won't have to lose your house if you break your leg. So for me, doing carpentry a fair amount, of working stuff, so like building scenery or homes, I break anything, I'm a liability to myself, to the company, right? Like, people are like, yeah, you got workman's comp. Dude, have you ever heard of somebody trying to, like, actually access that shit? It's a battle. It's usually not easy. And even if you do get it, you're seen as a liability to that company forever, right? And if people find out about it from other companies, they don't want to hire you. They're like, oh man, he gets hurt, it'll claim workman's comp. It'll be so expensive. Let's go with this other guy. Is when I was renting my body, to move material around and put it into a particular shape, this is just what the culture is. That's what it is. Yeah, you got workman's comp. Don't ever fucking claim it or you'll never work again. what it was in freelance theater, couldn't possibly think about touching that shit. And like, you'd only do it if it was like, you know, if it had destroyed you, if it was debilitating. And I knew a couple people that did it with the companies that I worked for, and lo and behold, they had to find other things to do. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, high fructose corn syrup as well. Oh, yeah. Or all of the processed sweetened sugars. And especially, I mean, that one's from like a biosource. It's not like, you know, from a series of chemicals and chemical reactions. But, I mean, biological organisms and plants are that too, but that comes from corn, but then it goes into what looks like an oil refinery, a proprietary process that has never been exposed to the public to make high fructose corn syrup. So, you know, have at it, y'all. You just, it's a little roulette with that one. Yeah, so 200 to 300 compounds, no education, and we're not going to medicate you, and like the worst corporate and political propaganda and the loudest bullhorn for stuff like that in the world. Like, as far, if you're selling bullshit, like America, oh my God, we know how to fucking sling bullshit. The rest of the world kind of is trying to copy us. But as far as like public relations and advertising and marketing bullshit, like, we're the king of shit mountain. Nobody bullshits better than Americans. And the other thing is, like, directly connected to that is, well, so you have that level of bullshit, and you have like the most amount of the most ignorant, self-destructive, voting against their own self-interest consumers who will buy anything. Who will buy anything if you say it does the thing that you've told them that they want. You know, all these, many of these desires, like you're looking for this kind of satisfaction or this kind of excitement or whatever, like in a car commercial or in a perfume or in clothing, or like it represents freedom. It, like, all these things that you want for yourself. I want that attribute. I want to have an adventure. I'll be fast with this item. We barely make anything as a country anymore besides the most gullible consumers in the world. That's what our system of education is made for. We train people only just enough so that they can like fill out the paperwork to screw themselves and to screw other people. What do I think about RFK Jr.? RFK Jr. has been for a long time a terrible, terrible fraud of a man. He's been destructive to everybody in his life, in his own family, his friendships, his business associates. This is a person that never wanted for anything ever and fucked it all. And fucked it all in a vicious and self-serving way over and over and over again. And so by the end of like burnt career after burnt career, he goes to full-on charlatanry, right? Being a full-on charlatan, science-denying charlatan for money. That's what that industry is. He sells a book, gets a speaking fee, all this stuff. He doesn't fucking believe it. Makes him money. He believes in the money. He believes in the power. He believes in not being under the thumb of his crack dealer again, right? So I'm always going to have mine. I'm never going to be brought that low again. And I don't care who I have to do to get there. That's RFK Jr. Not a nice guy. Okay? Not a nice guy. Doesn't care who he has to hurt to do it. Doesn't care, denigrate the entire legacy of his entire family to do it. Doesn't care. Right? When he released that ad, the ad, that where he had copied, just taken the 1960 Kennedy ad against Nixon. The Kennedy, 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 Kennedy is the one for me. Ad. stole it, put his face on it, and then included all of the same pictures of all of the fucking people from the Kennedy family who spoke out in the New York Times the next day saying, oh no, get our name out of your motherfucking mouth right now, okay? Because you and your brand of politics do not speak for us, your father, or your uncle at all. And we don't want to be associated with it. So we're going to sue you unless you take our picture off of that. So doesn't care how close you are, whatever it is, his political project, his self-aggrandizement. That's RFK Jr. to me. And he's going to destroy public health. Most of my family are medical professionals. I've been steeped in kind of all of this stuff. My siblings and one of my parents and most of my uncles and aunts have something to do with it. And talk to a pediatrician. Talk to any pediatrician about what they think about RFK Jr. and you'll get one strand of my hatred for him. One strand. Because, I mean, he wants fucking polio back. He won't mind. You have a little pertussis, a little whooping cough. That's never harm anybody, right? A little diphtheria. Nah. Whatever. Fuck, you know. Guy doesn't care. Not only that, he's been shown that his ideology is destructive, that it has killed people in several instances where he's purveyed his wares to different nations in different times. And he is completely unrepentant for the deaths and the harm that he caused. I was horrified when he was running for president. And I'm traveling the country, you know, doing some activism work. So you talk to some lefties, you know, some people see you holding a sign or doing a cause, and they're like, I do a cause, and you have a talk about your cause. And to find a bunch of them having a real, like, wrestling with whether or not to support RFK Jr. Because, he's trying to trick exactly those people by using the language of social justice work and nonprofit work, like his seemingly anti-war stance, which is meaningless, means nothing in his position in the Trump administration. Anybody that signs up that, you're signing up for World War III. Here we go. So, basically, which is, I think, what Benjamin Netanyahu is busy getting the United States to engage in, from what I could see of yesterday, from the press conference, from what I could gather by everything that I saw, because I watched the whole thing, and the commentary. But if you didn't know, the United States says it's going to own Gaza and make it into, like, I don't know, resort? So, yeah, going around the place, people really struggling with, like, but he has this environmental concern, and he has this other lefty thing. And I'm like, what I'd say to all of them is the same thing I'd say to any supporter of Jill Stein. Okay, they say this stuff, right? They say, I'm in support of this or I'm against that. What have they put forward that's an actual policy or a plan or a strategy that they're going to implement that's going to affect change? Either of those people, Jill Stein or RFK Jr., are very, very thin on any kind of explanation of how they're going to implement anything that they say that they're going to do in their presidential runs. Now, RFK Jr., the fucking HHS head, is a far different person than what he was running as an independent for president. So, not really comparable, even though it's the same human being. But yeah, they both attract left-leaning people because they say, hey, I know what you're interested in. It's this cause, it's this cause, it's this cause. I'm going to pay lip service to it. I don't like it, or I like this, things that they would agree with or disagree with. And offer nothing substantively as to what they may ever do about it. And so that, in every case, with every politician, should be all you need to know, right? Like, if I was going to give advice on being politically astute, look for an actual fucking plan. Because they'll say anything to get into the damn office. They'll butter your scone and your biscuits and everything. They'll do all of it. They'll say anything to get there. And some of them will say anything to get there, convincing themselves, I just need to say anything to get there because I know I can do the best good there. So I'm going to lie to all these people. I'm going to say I'm going to provide all of these services and do all of this stuff. Or right all of these wrongs. I'm going to say I'm going to do all of those things. I'm not going to do nearly any of them because I know at least I can be marginally better than the other guy, and that's good enough. So that's how politicians are motivated, if you didn't know. That's like at the end when they're doing the autopsy after the thing, if they won or lost, or in the planning to get there. That's the analysis that a lot of them are doing. I'll say whatever I need to do because I know that I'm better than that piece of shit. Well, it's funny what you learn when you regularly place wireless microphones on politicians all over Boston. In preparation for, maybe events with a panel discussion of, like, say, 4 to 17 people with live mics on for an hour discussing whatever it is that's going on. I should have been a reporter. I could have gone full spotlight. Like, this is what's going on, this corruption. But, it was really funny, like, I met a bunch of the corrupt ones, like the ones that are famous, and some of them that went to jail and were back out in Boston. They were investigated by the feds or the state or whatever, lost everything. One of them, famously, who had stuffed a bunch of money into their shirt, a large cash amount, on camera, it was a sting, gave me a cash tip. Put it in my shirt pocket. I nearly died. I know that means way more to me, and I'm laughing my ass off, and I probably don't have a lot of a reaction. But oh my God, it took everything for me to not like make a joke or have a reaction or to say anything but thank you, and to make it because I also couldn't say no because like this was going to be a client for this facility that was going to rent the facility for a bunch of events. And so like I knew better than to be like, oh, make a thing out of it. We don't do that here. So because my boss would have been like, shut up next time. Like, I know we're not supposed to, but don't say anything. Because, like, it's like your little cash tip next to, like, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars or something. So, growing up, one morning on, like, a Sunday or a Saturday, I was taken by my father to meet the mayor of Boston, to have a private tour, us and he, of the aircraft carrier John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And 9 o'clock in the morning, we show up, and there's the mayor, big as life, drunk as a skunk. And I knew what too much scotch on the breath smelled like at 9 years old. And in the open air next to an aircraft carrier, I could smell it coming off this guy. And I look up at my dad like, what the fuck? And he kind of just, eh. Which was probably the best thing he could do for all of us, because he made it into not a big thing. And he's like, don't make this into a big thing. And it wasn't. He's just a racist asshole, drunk, megalomaniac, thief, mayor. So I've broken down the drum kit here. I've done it. Everything's broken, and it's all down. Not only though, it's almost in a pile. So all the magic will be postponed for a month until I can try to set something else up in another state away from a nasty neighbor. And I feel like I needed to speak to somebody, and so I chose all of you. Thanks for listening. I've been keeping a lot of this in and just having it bounce around my head and feeling like I don't have anybody to talk to really about all of the things, because I have so much. And thank y'all for being a temporary therapist here. I very much hope to not see you all as a therapist at all, but I found this to be therapeutic. Shedding some skin here, exposing my kind of emotional state, which is all over the map, and exposing some of my anger and recriminations against what I see to be a bunch of self-serving, bigoted fuckheads who thought that was a good idea to vote for a Nazi circus peanut. So, no, Pearl, what I'm saying is that I know him too much, okay? And I just haven't been able to process all of it. And it's like, you listen to me as much as like you want, and you offer yourself too much for like what you're doing. I'm saying like I've got too much to process, and I like it, not that yes, I should have worded it better, but no, I do talk to you. It's just, it's the overage, you know, because like I mean, you're one of the soundest people to talk to about any of this. You have inside knowledge on this culture that I'm raging against, that I'm learning from you all the time, and still will be learning from you. And so yeah, that's not what I meant, although yeah, I can easily see how my wording was completely shit. Yeah, it's just I have the extra, and this is where the extra went, and by having it go someplace, I'm getting right now a better awareness of how much I've been storing, and how much it sucks. So that's what I mean. Yeah. So no, you're absolutely right, because yeah, we talk long into the night about all this stuff. You're, like I said earlier in here, you're on the front line of this shit. You're right here in like seeing it go down, being in an agency that's going to be directly affected by this, that's desperately trying to help people. So, and the thing is about it, like, you need to be able to be together enough to do that work and not to have all of my concerns on you at the same time. And I have a lot. And yeah, kind of the thing is like, yeah, I haven't known where to put it. So like I have more than what I'm able to process, and so what I was able to do before, I was able to process some of it, yeah, and that was very nice. I processed some of it by doing direct action on the street. That was very nice. And I used to be a little bit better socialized in this community and other communities. Uh, Pearl. Oh my God. No, 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 no. It is fun to be sent up when you speak so inaccurately as that. It helps. It helps my soul. Thank you. Oh, that was great. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, just like yeah, so for I feel isolated with the extra in my thoughts, and so like I haven't been able to stop them at night, and so my sleeplessness has been rather extended, and I'm having real trouble with that. So looking forward to trying to have more outlets. This breaking down and just engaging in the move and doing more stuff like this is what I'm going to try to do. So to try to find a place for all of these thoughts and this energy. I started kind of an idea about doing some reporting kind of stuff, as like it seems I'm already paying attention to all of this stuff, and I'm not terrible at disseminating or distilling it. More distilling. I'm not great at disseminating anything. I'm pretty terrible at self promotion. So, okay, everybody, this was a very, very, very long goodbye. But again, like during this 5 minutes, and maybe you've seen me go through like a few emotions at once, and generally that's what it has been for this person. It's a pretty quick carousel without much of a feeling of a floor underneath me. And I'm trying to find that. And I wish all of you more peace and uh, hopefully to find where you can tend a little bit of this very overgrown and very overweeded garden that we find ourselves in right now. Uh, so, all of that in a bag of chips. Be good.